Welcome to Matinee Heroes. This is the show where two contestants compete by recasting your favorite actors in movies you love. I'm your host, Craig Price, and we have a great movie for you tonight. We're cranking up the temperature, and we are going to recast the unbelievable Michael Mann's Heat. If you have not seen Heat, I recommend you go do that immediately because it is fantastic. But before we get into tonight's game, let's talk about what happened last week. No, I don't want to talk about sedition. We're going to talk about Rob Irvin and Patrick Beatty rematch. It was a tough loss when they first met, where it was an overtime victory for Patrick Beatty, but this time Rob Irvin soundly defeated Patrick Beatty to move into the semifinals. But this week, we've got a great matchup. In this corner, from the great Northwest, Richard Jensen, and representing the great state of Utah, Chaz Evans. Gentlemen, how are you? I completely understand. Yes,
It says it all. It's been a week.
It's been a year and a week.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
This whole week is like 50 pounds of crazy in a 10-pound bag.
Okay. I saw that guy with the very tiny personal body armor. He was about 600 pounds, and he had like a little vest like that. I'm like, that is useless. But we're gonna keep.
It's like a Fairley Brothers rewrite of a Costa Graves script, which only makes it a little more watchable than Green Book.
Well, we have just lost about 5 more viewers, so I appreciate that. Well, we'll start with you, Richard. You're a filmmaker. You love film. You love old film. So that's why you're pulling out those references. What's been going on with you and you and Celtic Ray Filmworks?
We're still on hiatus because I'm not vaccinated yet. So hopefully, when that happens within the next few months, we're going to try to start cranking out shorts again. In the meantime, I've still got my podcast, Another White Guy with a Mic, which I'm actually starting up a little sooner than I expected because, coup. In the meantime, I've still got 3 shorts currently playing on Amazon. Cuck, You Think You're Better Than Me, and Beware of the Bada Book. Those are plus there's my YouTube channel. Just type in Celtic Ray Filmworks into the spacebar, and it'll take you right there if you want to check out some of my filmmaking work. And if I can get the technical stuff taken care of, I'm going to start a Twitch gaming channel where people can get to watch me play video games, if that's your thing.
Well, here's my question. Have you been writing scripts since you can't be shooting scripts?
No, because I've had no ideas. I'm hoping that once this weight is off our head, stuff will start flowing again.
All right. And one last question. Have you watched any of your friends' television shows? I'll take that as a no. We'll move on to Chaz. He's a really good friend. He's got great friends. He never watches their shows. Chaz is from the Over and Under Artists Exposed podcast. And how's that been going?
It's been going well. It's been going well. It's been kind of hard trying to schedule people with all the holidays, and then also with kind of like Richard said, a heavy weight on our shoulders until probably 2 weeks. So it's been going as well as it can given the circumstances. So.
Well, this will be back-to-back gaggle of geeks. You've got some pressure on you not to bow out, or otherwise you both will have lost in consecutive weeks. So I know Patrick's rooting for you. What's going to happen? What's that conversation going to be like when you record if you lose?
It'll probably be, Chaz, you're a loser, and then it'll just be, I know I am.
Well, he's a loser too. He already lost, so he can't. Now, if you win, are you going to rub it in?
Oh, absolutely, man. That's the only way to do it.
That's all I wanted to know. Well, as always, the CastOFF is brought to you and sponsored by the main podcast, Matinee Heroes. And thank you for sighing. That was
No. It's a yawn.
I obviously not a fan. Thanks, Richard.
I am a fan.
But Matinee Heroes, this weekend we are going to continue our biopic week or biopic month with The Social Network, reviewing the life of alien Mark Zuckerberg. You can head over to matineeheroes.com/subscribe to podcast and subscribe to the audio podcast, or you can head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff to subscribe to the video feed. Now, let's get on to today's game. The rules are simple, as every week. I'm going to throw out an actor and a character from the movie, in this case, Heat. The best choice gets a point. I also play along, so if you happen to get my secret selection, that's an additional point. Now, remember, just because you get the secret selection doesn't mean it's the best choice, but often it is, and it's a good way if you start falling behind to get yourself back into contention, sometimes back into the lead. Person with the most points wins, and if there's a tie, double feature to win, and we'll explain those rules when and if they're necessary. Today's additional judges were brought to you by Brandon Agnew and Devin Pike. I want to thank them in advance. So if you're unhappy, either one of you, with the votes, it is not just me. Someone else also voted. And I will say that I believe only one actor did not get a vote in this whole thing. So every actor was voted on, because this is going to be a good one, because this is the best movie in the world. I love it. Heat. Michael Mann's Heat. Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
He is so ready. Patrick, Richard can't wait. So, now, you have obviously seen this, Richard, but Chaz, you'd never seen this, correct?
Never seen it. I had to rent it off of Amazon. So.
Well, I'm sorry we cost you $4.22, but
Worth it.
It's absolutely worth it. If you've never seen it, so what did you feel?
I loved it, man. It's like a 3-hour runtime, and it did not feel 3 hours at all.
No.
And being 1995, I thought was beautifully shot. Because the only other Michael Mann film I'm familiar with, aside from Manhunter.
Manhunter, yep.
Is Collateral, which is another moody, night-filled movie. So seeing that kind of in 1995, I'm like, this is really kind of ahead of its time. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that shootout at the end is pretty much the definitive shootout. Unfortunately, it's been used and copied in real life. So let's move on to two of the greatest actors in the history of acting. And we'll start with Al Pacino, who plays Lieutenant Vincent Hanna. Now, Richard, we're going to start with you. Who do you have to play one of the greatest actors of all time?
This was tough because, again, it's Pacino, and it is one of Pacino's best performances of the 90s. But I wanted to go with somebody who could do that kind of broad characterization, and I went with Brad Pitt. He's movie star handsome, and he's kind of embraced the odder parts of himself in recent years. I mean, he's really embraced the character actor within him.
Well, he was odd to begin with, because if you look what we got here, Thelma and Louise, he was just meat. But you get 12 Monkeys, where he goes crazy. You've got Seven. You got Fight Club, and that's all right before 2000. So he is a phenomenal actor, and every single movie there you can find at matineeheroes.com. So you go look in the archives. But yeah, he's solid. Chaz, do you have someone that's as good as the amazing Brad Pitt?
So Al Pacino, I was doing some research, and he said that his character was coke. Like, it was all about cocaine in this movie, and like kind of damaged because he's so into his job. And I'm like, well, what kind of actor can get really into his role? Like a method acting. And I went with Sir Christian Bale.
So yeah, absolutely. Now, he's known for screaming at the crew, but he's definitely an actor's actor from Batman trilogy, Empire of the Sun, Newsies, The Prestige, Ford versus Ferrari. He's amazing. So this one's going to be a very difficult one. We've got Brad Pitt, Christian Bale, and I had Matt Damon because I wanted someone who represented the law. But you guys have some really solid ones, and Matt Damon now as he's getting older. And the judges went with Christian Bale. All right. Now we go with someone I think is even better than. I've got some problems here. We've got. Give me 2 seconds. I look at this all screwed up because I've got Chaz is missing. Chaz is missing from the thing. Let me get Chaz in here. Yeah, this is why we come in for ahead of time, but my computer was acting up, so it just wanted to kill me. So let me just do this real quick. Sorry for that. I told you one thing goes wrong every episode, and this is it. This is what's going on. So, who do you have playing De Niro, which is the best guy? I think he's better than Pacino.
Yeah, this was actually the hardest one for me to pick, just because De Niro does such a great job. But his character kind of dresses up very nice, very kind of slick, and means business, kind of intimidating, like an intimidating businessman who's a heistmeister, if you will. So I was thinking of like an actor who can do that today, who kind of look intimidating. I went with Oscar Isaac, kind of with like the ex machina feel to it.
Well, as I've told Patrick Beatty, he always picks Oscar Isaac in everything he's done. So it seems like a gaggle of geeks pick, but he's money in the bank. You got the Ex Machina, Inside Llewyn Davis. Even a crappy movie like Apocalypse is not his fault. So absolutely. Richard, who do you have?
Well, I wanted to go with somebody who could match De Niro's intensity, so I went with Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon is great. He's a scary crazy, so you have to be careful of that. But, Knives Out, where he plays a meek guy, but in the shape of water, he's downright just evil. And, of course, he was the young guy getting married in Groundhog Day.
I need to rewatch that.
So, we've got Oscar Isaac. We've got Michael Shannon. Of course, I went with Ben Affleck. If you're going to have De Niro and Pacino, Damon and Affleck, and the judges went with Oscar Isaac. So Chaz takes a strong lead with 2-0. Now we go to someone you thought was very difficult to cast, Richard, and that is Val Kilmer. So who do you have playing Val Kilmer?
Well, I decided to go in a different direction. I still picked somebody who's young, who's intense, but I went with Aldous Hodge.
Now, I actually had to look up the name, but as soon as I saw his face, which is why we do a video and not an audio podcast, I'm like, yeah, he'd be great. He's known for being in 2 Die Hards as 2 different people. I don't know if you knew that. That's a little trivia. He was in One Night in Miami, which is supposed to be either it's out on Netflix or it's going to be out real soon. It's supposed to be an amazing screenplay. He was in Invisible Man and Straight Outta Compton. Admiral pick. He's very good.
And I should point out that I first saw him in the vastly underrated syndicated TV show Leverage.
Yes.
Which is actually coming back for a season on IMDb TV, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in that again.
All right. Yeah, nice. If that's coming back, that's it. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Chaz, who do you have?
Well, because I kind of based this one off the looks back in the 90s, and Richard, I chose Brad Pitt for this because in the 90s he had the long hair like in the Interview with the Vampire. So I kind of went with that.
Well, I mean, we just talked about how great he was. If I can get my computer to work with me today. But Brad Pitt, yep. He was known for Richard's Vincent Hanna. And once again, here's all the Thelma and Louise, 7 Monkeys. He's fantastic. So, Aldous Hodge versus Brad Pitt as the young punk who, exactly who Val Kilmer is. I went with Michael B. Jordan. So, the judges got together and decided Brad Pitt. So apparently they didn't like him for the main guy, but the judges decided he was good for a second banana. So Chaz has taken a strong 3-0 lead, but there's still at least 8 points on the board if you get every single thing and 4 to win. So you're still in this, Richard.
Well, we'll see.
Now we're going to get to, no, that's not Julian Assange. That is John Voight, another crazy person playing Nate. So we're going to go with, what is it? It is Chaz's turn, correct?
Yep.
Who do you have playing crazy? Nate.
Well, I went with a crazy actor named Nicolas Cage. Nate, you gotta say more.
Yeah. Nicolas Cage is an out there Oscar winner to be polite. So Leaving Las Vegas, The Rock, Face Off, Raising Arizona. He can do it. Have you guys watched The History of Swear Words?
Not yet.
Absolutely.
How did you like it so far?
Dude, it's just meme-worthy. He's just a meme god at this point.
Yes, he is definitely meme-worthy throughout that whole thing. So he's definitely got that. All right.
I think that probably kind of made me biased in this decision because I was watching that around the same time. So
That's fine. Well, Richard, who do you have playing Nate?
Well, went back to Michael Mann's commentary on the Blu-ray, and his comment was that he actually based Nate's look off of Eddie Bunker, who is a character actor, but he was also a very talented writer and a former bank robber who he knew.
Yes, I thought Edith Bunker for a second until I looked him up, and I'm like, oh, that's who it is, because I thought Edith Bunker. Oh, Watchy. That's not going to work in that movie. But yes, criminal turned actor. He was a drug dealer. He was a bank robber. Then he became what we call a consultant. You can do that in Hollywood. You can have a despicable life and then show up in Hollywood and say, let me show you how despicable people live and make money. And he's been in The Running Man, Tango and Cash, Reservoir Dogs. I believe he was Mr. Blue in Reservoir Dogs. Mm-hmm. And the more recent Longest Yard, playing a convict because he's got experience.
I should also point out that he was also the writer on one of the greatest action movies ever made, Runaway Train, starring John Boyd.
Oh, well, that's probably why John Voight could think of him. That's good. Mm-hmm. So we've got Nicolas Cage, Eddie Bunker. I wanted to call him Edith Bunker. Eddie Bunker. I went with a Liev Schreiber because I think he can play like a Ray Donovan type kind of grump.
I can see that.
And Chaz, they went with Nicolas Cage, but I do want you to know Eddie did get a vote. It wasn't me. One of our judges gave it a vote, so it wasn't overwhelming. You would think, who the hell's Eddie Bunker? But Chaz has taken a commanding 4-0 lead. Things are looking ominous, but you still have it at the maximum 6 points on the board. So now we're going to get to Michael Cerrito. And of course, Cerrito was played by the unbelievable Tom Sizemore. And I love Tom. He's great. He's one of those character actors. And now he plays more of these little menschy guys where he played a real tough guy when he was younger. So we'll start off with Richard. Who do you have playing Michael Cerrito?
Well, this one was a little tougher. I couldn't think of anybody contemporary who could match Sizemore, so I had to pull back in time a little bit, and I went with Ernest Borgnine.
I tried to find the meanest picture of Ernest Borgnine I could.
That's a good one.
Every picture you find of him is of that big, sweet smile, because he's actually a very sweet, nice guy. Oscar winner. He's an unbelievable character actor. He's been in Escape from New York and The Dirty Dozens, which we covered on the podcast. He was in both the movie and the TV McHale's Navy, and won his Oscar for Marty. So, yeah, that's a solid pick.
And I got to point out, again, putting on my film nerd cap, probably the best film to go back to before he would be his role in Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch.
Yeah, he's very good in The Wild Bunch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Never heard of this actor before. So
you have never heard of Ernest Borgnine?
Oh,
nope.
Dude.
Oh my God.
Get yourself experienced.
Oh my God.
Start with The Wild Bunch. The Wild Bunch is awesome.
I can understand you not have seen a lot of these movies, but you have to know Ernest Borgnine. He did pass away about 10, 15 years ago, but even as a kid, he did a lot of voice work. So that is a bold decision to say that out loud in public, and I appreciate your bravery.
And watch, you'll still get the point.
So, Chaz, who do you have?
I took the same approach that I took with Val Kilmer's character, like looking for somebody who could fit who they've already kind of cast. So I went with Jude Law.
Yeah, Jude Law. He's what we call creepy but scary. He can play all of those. But Road to Perdition, he's Dumbledore. Though I don't know why Dumbledore goes from 3-piece suits to the very next day he is wearing full-on robes like a wizard.
He's got lazy.
Hard. And of course, he's Watson in Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes. Yep. So we've got Ernest Borgnine, Jude Law. I went with a Frank Grillo kind of thing because I think he's got that, underling feel to him. And the judges went with Ernest Borgnine. Yes, that was almost a unanimous choice. So, Richard, you have redeemed yourself. There's a point on the board. There is still up to 4 on there, so we're going to continue on with... Now, this one is the weird one, because Ashley Judd is Charlene. She's in this movie, but she's so young. It's almost like a deer. She's like a small little fawn in this movie of tough guys. So we're going to start with Chaz. Chaz, who do you have playing Charlene?
I went with somebody who I've seen pull that hairstyle off, the short hairstyle.
The 90s hairstyle?
Yeah. But I went with Scarlett Johansson.
ScarJo, otherwise known as Mrs. Colin Jost. But no, she's...
A win for comedy writers everywhere.
Well, comedy writers don't look like Colin, so that's not a win for them everywhere. But she's been in the Avengers movies, Prestige, Lost in Translation, even showed up in Home Alone 3. So,
what?
Hey, we all make bad life choices, especially as child actors. So, we move on to Richard. Who do you have competing with ScarJo?
I went with someone who looks fragile but could kind of has kind of a spine of steel to her. I went with Michelle Williams.
Ooh. She's fantastic. She's usually in dark, independent films, but she was in Venom. She played Tom Hardy's girlfriend or friend, or whatever that situation was. But she's in Brokeback Mountain, Manchester by the Sea, and of course Halloween H2O, 20 years later.
I just started watching Fosse Verdon on Hulu, and she plays Gwen Verdon in it. She's terrific.
Yep. So, ScarJo, Michelle Williams. I was going for an Anne Hathaway type. The judges decided Michelle Williams, because Michelle Williams is fantastic. So, here's the situation. Chaz has 4 points. Richard has 2 points. There is only 2 points maximum available on the board. So, this means what you're going to have to do, Richard, is you're going to have to not only get it right, but you're going to have to match myself. So, it's not impossible, but odds are not ever in your favor. So let's see if you can pull it off.
Ever.
So we've got the great, I just love this guy, McKelty Williamson. I can't ever say his first name. There's too many vowels missing. But McKelty Williamson as Sergeant Drucker, the cop looking after all these bad guys. So, Richard, this is the big one. Who do you have playing Sergeant Drucker?
I went with Omar Little himself, Mr. Michael K. Williams.
You went with Michelle Williams to Michael Williams. I'm not sure you took much thought into this one. This one is fantastic, though, because he's one tough mother in 12 Years a Slave. I loved him in Boardwalk Empire as Chalky, and he's been in The Wire. So, yeah, he's fantastic. He was even in the recent, what do you call him, the Lovecraft Country, which he did an exceptional job at. So, Chaz, you've got to block this.
Oh, boy.
Who do you have to block Michael K. Williams?
Well, I went with a younger actor, sort of. But from what I've seen, he looks pretty tall. And Sergeant Drucker seemed like he's a pretty tall dude who you wouldn't want to, mess with.
He's Buford Bowe from Forrest Gump.
Oh, see, I haven't seen that movie in forever. So I went with, I don't want to murder this, Yahya Abdul Mateen II.
Yeah, so you're right. Yahya Abdul Mateen II, who's fantastic. He's a strong city planner type because he actually studied architecture and was an assistant city planner for the city of San Francisco. But just recently saw him in the Trial of Chicago 7, where he plays a very intimidating Black Panther who then is just totally abused in court. It's crazy. Us, Aquaman, Baywatch, he makes a couple slip-ups here and there as well, so he's not perfect being in Baywatch.
Yeah, and I know him more from the TV series Watchmen as Dr.
Yes.
Manhattan.
So, we've got Michael K. Williams. We've got Yahya Abdul Mateen II. I went with Michael Pena. So that means that even though Yahya got the point anyways, so Chaz, you can win with 5. You are today's winner. Congratulations. Do you have a final thought for today?
Yeah, Patrick, suck it.
Well, that's just lovely. Well, Patrick, you can also, on behalf of Matinee Heroes, suck it. And as you will hear him on this Saturday's episode featuring the Social Network. So, now, I know there's some people who are only watch to find out what's going on next week, and next week is Game 11. And we have Jake Deach versus Alex Barnhill. It's the battle of the podcast networks. Stolen Droids Media versus Vocal. And they're going to do Steel Magnolias. I really wanted to change it up and let the ladies shine through, and I think this is going to be fabulous. We need to tenderize CastOFF. We've been blowing people up, shooting them. Now we want to see Steel Magnolias. So thank you, everybody, for watching. If you've enjoyed the show, follow us at Matinee Heroes on Twitter. We have more followers than the president. Twitch.tv/Matinee Heroes. Facebook.com/group/Matinee Heroes. And, of course, if you want to subscribe to the video feed, matineeheroes.com/CastOFF. On behalf of today's winner, Chaz Evans and Richard Jensen, my name is Craig Price. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.